All right, Michael, here are the task time definition process. Down here, you can see this down here at the bottom. It's a task time definition process, and it's critical that we understand how to set up task time for each task, basically. So there's a process to it. I'll kind of walk you through it. So identify the productive time on each task. Obviously, that's what we're going to go through. And then what is the task time definition? So task time for every dispatch call, I've I've seen that there's a $29 to $79 works for a trip charge and a dispatch fee or a dispatch fee. However, if you want to waive the fee, if you're, however, if you are waiving the fee, if the customer accepts the work today, that is a slippery slope. And I would say don't do that. So if you've done that in the past, don't waive the dispatch fee, okay? Because there's a lot of negative things that can happen. And I won't go into them here, but there's a lot of negative things that can happen. So when you have a dispatch fee, you have to, or a trip charge, you have to charge that. And you tell them up front you're going to charge that. All right? So, and I've seen it between $29 and $79. I used the 29 because my travel time wasn't all that great. Now there's other areas of the country that have a lot of traffic and their travel time is much greater, probably twice what my travel time would be. And generally we try to keep our technicians to a 10 minute travel time on the max. So we're looking, now I understand that as you're growing, that's not going to happen. You might have a 30-minute travel time. So I get that, but I can't throw that on the customer's back. But I'll show you how I make up more efficiency as I go through this process with you. Okay? So trip charge. It's important that trip charge is upfront. We tell them at the dispatch call or at the call center, we have a dispatch fee and it's X number of dollars. Okay? So I'll just read this. It's important to state the trip charge dispatch fee upfront on the phone with the customer. Why? It's important to make sure the customer values the service. If you don't have a discharge fee, there's no risk to that customer for you coming out. And you just get a bunch of tire kickers. And this eliminates the tire kickers by having a trip charge or dispatch fee. Okay? We do nothing for free. Okay, just understand that there's nothing we do or is going to be free. That's not the business that we're in. This is not included in the task time load. Do not build dispatch fees into your task times. Okay, I'll show you how you get more efficient in your task times here. It's a separate charge, bottom line. Okay, so clock starts. Now task times for every individual task are important. So every individual task has to really be thought out. So if it's in your flat rate book, you need to think out every one of those line items and go through this process. So, and this is for every task. So right now I want you to think of, I'm going out there for one task. And that's the mindset you want to do. Because you may do multiple tasks while you're out there, but I'm going to price everything in to these 6 steps on every single task. So I'm going to have some synergy where I prepared once, but I may have done 6 tasks. Well, we're going to get some more efficiency out of that because we don't have to do that mindset again or waste that time. Not so much waste that time, but develop that time. Okay, so the prepare step. You're at the customer's house, you turn off the truck, and you review the 6 steps. So there's 6 steps to the service system. The technician needs to prepare himself, basically. That's why it's called the prepare step. So he has to reset, because, he may have just got a phone call and somebody pissed him off, or whatever it is, or he's thinking about something really nice and he's not thinking about what he's doing next. So this prepare step is, you turn the engine off, you go through your 6 steps. Technicians do. And you have to have a 6-step card for them to do that with. Because it's the same card that they're going to present to the customer. If you don't have one, I'll get you one. Okay? So that's the first step. getting prepared. Then we greet the customer. So we go up to the house, we greet the customer, whether you're putting shoe covers or not, whatever it is. Yes, it's great to have shoe covers if you can do that. So greet the customer at the door and set the agenda. So you're setting the agenda with the card. The card has 6 steps to it. So you're explaining the agenda to the customer. Okay? And I'll get you a card so that you can get proficient in it, and I'll do a video on it as well. Okay. Step 3, explore step. This step is right after the greet. Because during the greet, after you've told Ms. Jones what's going to happen on the call, the first question is, can you show me where the main issue is? Well, that's not the explore step yet. That's still in the greet step. They're showing you where the main issue is. From there, after you take a look at what the main issue is, you go, this is where we jump into the explore step. And this is where you ask the question, Mrs. Jones, do you know where and if it's a plumbing question, do you know where your main water shutoff is? If it's an electrical question, it would be, do you know where your electrical panel is? If it's HVAC, you go, do you know where your thermostat is? So you've got 3 steps in different trades that you're going to point to as a starting point to explore with the customer. Okay? So what happens is after they've taken a look at the initial problem during that greet step, right after you presented the card, you'll say, Mrs. Jones, you transition into the explore step by saying, Mrs. Jones, do you know where your thermostat is? Do you know where your panel is? Do you know where your main water shutoff is? And if they say yes, it's right over here. Say, great, can you show me? The key here is to have the customer follow you during this process. Okay? And there will be times that customers will say, you know what, I've got to run over the neighbors, I've got these kids I'm dealing with, it's just right down the hall, or it's down in the basement, or it's wherever. Say, no problem, Mrs. Jones. If I notice anything, what would you like for me to do? Remember, everything from this point forward ends in a question mark. If I notice anything, what would you like for me to do? And 100% of the time, the customers will say, well, yeah, tell me about it, show it to me. Okay. So they just gave you permission to go into the explore step. So if you're going in there by yourself, go down, look at everything, document everything you see, any findings that you see that's going on. I mean, you kind of got the whole house to yourself by doing that, but you also got permission now to bring them, because you want them to see it too. Okay? So you go back to Ms. Jones, and Ms. Jones, do you have a moment? Yeah. So they're more willing to come back down at that point, where in the beginning they really don't know who you are, and they really don't want to be caught anywhere with you, the technician. Okay? Because there's a trust factor. But because we ask permission, they've already given us the answer, what it's going to be, so we go down and we take a look, we come back up, Ms. Jones, I noticed something. Do you have a moment? Yeah. So they come on down, they take a look at whatever the issue is, and make sure you wrote it down on a piece of paper too. Okay? But if the customer goes down with you, you go down and you go, and let's just say, I'm going to use plumbing because that's what I am, HVAC, I can spell it, and electrical, I stay the hell away from it because I think it'll kill me. But anyways, I say, so, have you been able to turn this faucet off? I'm taking down the main water shutoff is where I go, because I always want to make sure, as a plumber, that I turn off the valve. Now, where do you have to make sure you go to? Probably the panel, or at least the thermostat on the HVAC side, because that's the control, that's the start of everything, right? So that's where you want to go to. Those are your go-to steps. So it's not like the guy has to, well, take me to the second floor. Well, no, that's not what the hell we're here for. Let's make sure the damn thing's working right, or is on or off, or whatever it is. So anyways, that's a critical piece to bring that customer down to the explore step. And then ask questions. Again, asking questions. The customer is not being preached to. If you tell the customer, this is bad, we have to replace it, you're making a statement. Never make a statement. Always ask questions. Because when you ask the questions, it's their turn to speak. And the more information you can get from them, the better. And the more questions you ask, the more they're making statements. It's kind of like they're in control, and we want the customer to be in control at this point because we're asking the questions. So if you see anything, say, hey, how long has that been like that? I don't know. The customer will respond, I don't know, I've never seen that before. And says, okay. So you're jotting it down. So everything you got in the question is you're writing it on a piece of paper, a blank piece of paper. Because those are going to be things that you're going to present to the customer. So it's critical that we get great at asking questions. As a matter of fact, that was a role play in my business where we had Explore Step. That was our main training, was do a group of guys, and there's nothing more intimidating than trying to do this greet step or this Explore Step with a bunch of guys that are supposed to also understand it. And so it's theater, basically. And so somebody becomes the customer and somebody is one of the techs. And the tech is going through explaining his process. You as the manager or owner, you have to verify that these guys can do it. Because if they can do it inside of their shop, which is probably the most uncomfortable place to do this, we have a chance of them doing this in front of the customer. Okay? Because it's very uncomfortable to do this to people that already understand what's coming at them. Because we're asking them and we're basically trying to build in enough questions to fill a page full of stuff that we can do. Okay? So that's a critical piece. So you guys need to be thinking about, if you're HVAC, always go to the thermostat, and then ask questions, then ask permission. Mr. Jones, do you know where your furnace is? Yeah, great, can you show me? So you go down to the furnace, and you're looking at your furnace thing, and you take the door off, and you take a wet rag, and you wipe, not a wet rag, but a baby wipe, and you wipe it down. So, oh, how long has that been like that? Because it's dirty. Okay, how long has that been like that? Oh, I never know, I never opened up that thing. Okay. All you've done is just added a task to what you're going to offer, like it's cleaning. If you see something on the plumbing side, it's dripping. Oh, how long has that been like that? Okay. Or you've got a wire that's hung down, or you've got wires coming out of a box. From an electrician's point of view. How long has that been like that? I never noticed it before. Oh, okay. You're writing it down. Write it down. That's something you need to fix. You're not there for that. But keep your eyes open and ask questions. Oh, how long has it been like that? Like it's not supposed to be like that. Okay? So ask that question. It's a very simple question. And you get the customer engaged. And the customer sees, oh, I don't know. And chances are they don't have a clue. Because they don't go down there looking at it like you would. Okay? So do those types of things. If it's not stapled right, if it's whatever it is, if it's got a frayed wire, something's not protected, on the electrical side, the HVAC side, you got condensate run all over, you got dirt. That's the number one thing with dirt, is just wiping that thing down. Jeez. It's 80% gross profit cleaning the damn thing. But anyways, that's the greet step. That's the Explore Step. Say, okay, Ms. Jones, just give me a minute. I'll write all this stuff up for you. And so the technician writes it all up. And please stay in the home, in the customer's home when you're writing all this up. Do not go back to your truck and sit in your truck so your customers open up the blinds and say, what the hell is he doing out there? Okay? Do it in your home. And if you're going to have a conversation where you have to call the office inside the customer's house, and understand that whoever that person is calling is probably you or their manager or somebody that can give them the answer to it. And have them talk on speaker, because I want the customer to understand everything, and I want the person inside the office to understand that. You're on speaker, so don't be a dumb shit. Okay? So we want everything transparent with our customer. So if you have to call the office for something, say, yeah, Bill, I'll get this out for you. I said, give me a moment, I'll call you right back, see if we can locate this, and I'll bring that part out to you. Okay, great. So they already think you're working in behind the scenes. The chances of them saying no to that is, he's already working in behind the scenes. You know, the engine started running already, and they haven't said yes to it yet. But it puts some sense of urgency in to say yes to what the technician is saying. So those are some psychology things that work out in when you're presenting the customer. So you go down, you present the laundry list of stuff that you put together on your Explore step. Say, Ms. Jones, you called this out. Always put on the main reason they called you out for. Put that at the top. You called us out for this, and then when we were exploring, what the hell is this? My computer died on me. Hang on a minute. Ooh, came back. I hope it did. Okay. Yeah, looks like it did. I guess I went on pause. Talked too damn long, Jim. So present that to the customer. And then after you get your paper signed, you know, go out to your truck, pick up all your tools that you're going to need, pick up all the parts you need, and hopefully you got a laundry list of shit to do now. And that's why you're getting all these items on your observation and finding sheet. That's what we called that, our presentation sheet, observations and finding. It's what we observed and we found. Okay? And Mrs. Jones has already explained, I already talked to it because we asked her the question about how long has that been like that? Oh, I don't know. Okay. That's good enough. She didn't have to give me 5 pages of dialogue for it. Chances are they didn't probably know that the thing was happening. Okay? So then come in, present the customer, Miss Jones, here's the options. You called us out here for this, so here's the issue with that. And then we talked about this, and so I gave you options for this too. We could do this, this, or this. And remember when we saw the hairball full of wires coming out of that box? So we could do this for that as well, or we could do this, or we could do that. And this happened, and you remember that? I said, yeah, so I put a line item down here for this. And you said you might want to do this sometime in the future, so I put this down here for that. Okay? What would you like for me to do, Mr. Jones? Turn the paper around to her and say, what would you like for me to do? I mean, you should be turning the paper to her when you're presenting it to her, by the way. So, and just circle the ones you want her. She says, yeah, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this, but we'll hold off on this one. Okay, fine. Great, Ms. Jones. So that is the end of the present step. So now we jump into the execute step, where we go to the truck and we get all of the tools and all the parts for everything that's on that list that Mrs. Jones wants us to do, and we bring it inside. Okay? So that is where we pick up some efficiencies, because I don't have to prepare for each one of these steps. I did the prepare before. Okay? I don't have to build in, I mean, I'm already building in the prepare, because my clock started when arrived at the place. Okay? And I'm greeting the customer. Okay? That's part of what you're paying for too, the customer's paying for. If you just do one thing, all that's got to be put into your installation time. Okay? So the more pieces you can do, you can pick up 5 to 10 to 15 minutes on each task. Okay, depending on how it is. You don't have to do the Explore step one time, but you got the Explore step built in. Okay, and then you always have to have your execute step. So you always want to pull that piece in there. Okay, but remember, you've got all of that. Those 6 steps are built into each individual task. So you've got some efficiencies when you sell 2 tasks. You know, you don't have to do the prepare step, you don't have to do the greet step, you don't have to do the Explore step, you don't have to do you got to do the present step, obviously. You don't have to do the present step twice. Okay? But you're going to execute once, and then you're going to clean up. Yeah, is there more cleanup? Okay, maybe there's more cleanup. But if Mrs. Jones just wants you to do one thing, at least we have everything built into that one thing price that they want us to do. Okay? So that's the importance of this right here. You can pick up some efficiency on those 6 steps. All right? So from there, I'm going to leave that to you. And if you have questions, I'll be happy to come by and coach you through it, so you can coach it to your guys. And we can do it, whatever. But I'm videotaping this, so you can just show them this thing too. Okay. I've got this tutorial down here. I got this link down here for your profit price tutorial, and I'll put this task time tutorial right in here next. Okay. That's 20 minutes of your time you're never gonna get back.